Hey everybody, Mr. Wagner here. We are on Flappy 6, and in Flappy 6 what we are going to do is we are going to make that bird fly around. Okay, so let's get going. Remember Flappy 5, we had the pipes moving, so let's get Flappy 6 going. Alright, in order to make our birds go, let's first copy the class definition from our pipes class, because I think we can use that as a skeleton to get our bird class going. So let's start that first. I'm going to scroll on up to where our pipe class is, and I'm going to copy and paste everything except for the self.sibling. I don't think we need that. So Command C, and I'm going to come down here right before definition make pipes. We'll do a Command V, and this is our class. It says class pipe again, so we need to change this to bird. Okay, so this will create a bird object, but in order to actually put the bird on the screen, we need to create an instance of that object and go from there. I like to think of instances as like the cookie, whereas the object is actually the cookie cutter. So you can make a lot of cookies with one cookie cutter, much like you can make a lot of birds with one bird object. Okay, let that sink in a little bit. Okay, so let's scroll on down and let's go ahead and create ourselves a bird. And the bird that we are going to create, believe it or not, its name is Flappy, okay? And if you look up Flappy Bird on, say, Wikipedia, it'll tell you that bird's name is Flappy. So let's go ahead and start with that. So we'll say bird. Okay, and our bird has an image file. And our image file, let's go ahead and copy this little bit of code here, which is our OS path join and then base.png. But our base.png is not the bird picture that we want. The bird picture that we want is one of our images that happens to be in our sprites folder. So if I click on project, you'll see these are our sprites. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of them here, but I'm just going to grab yellow bird-midflap.png. Okay, yellow bird-midflap.png. So let's type that in. -mid flap. Okay. And we'll be animating the bird's little wings and stuff later, and that'll be kind of cool. Okay, now that created our bird object, but obviously we need to blit that bird object onto our screen. And in order to do that, that's done inside our game loop. So let's scroll down into our game loop and let's go right after we draw our pipes, and we will blit our bird on there. So let's type in screen.blit, and what we have to blit is the image, and that is Flappy.image, right? And then Flappy.rect. Okay, because image and rect are both attributes, properties, so to speak, of that Flappy instance of the bird object. I'm trying to be really careful with my words here. Okay, let's do a quick run. See if we got a bird that pops up. Absolutely not. So something is going on here. Up. We forgot to say where the bird was going to be, okay? And if you look down here, it says line 109. It says missing the argument location. So let's go back up to 109. It says fab equals bird. Okay, yeah, so we forgot to put a location here. So let's say 100, and then we'll say screen height, say divided by 3. Okay. So we're putting our bird at the 100 over on the x-axis, and on the y-axis kind of up down about a third of the screen. So let's see what we got. Let's run it, And we got a cute little bird. Looks like he's just sort of flying along. All right, so that's good. We did a great job. I want you to notice on most Flappy Bird games, though, here, I'm going to pull one up here. Do you notice how that bird is sort of bobbing up and down? And that works kind of well. And that's kind of in the, I don't know, the waiting mode before you hit the space bar and the game begins. Okay, so let's see if we can get our bird to sort of bob up and down while it's in a waiting mode before the game starts. Okay, I'm just going to minimize that. Okay, so in order to do something like that, we are going to be updating its position, actually just its Y position, up and down. But we need to do that in an update function that's within the bird object. So if right here, line 124 is where we blit the Flappy bird onto the screen, then let's go ahead and do Flappy.update. Okay. And, that's very similar to, like here, we did pipes, we did screen blit, and then we did an update, and on our base, we did the blit and then the update. So you'll see that a lot, the blit and the update, the blit and the update. So let's go ahead and write our update function for the bird object. All right, scroll up to our bird object, and let's take a look at what we got. We have our bird object. What I would like to do here is I'd like to add a couple of variables. The first one is waiting, and let's say that's true. Okay, so if our bird is in a waiting position, he's sort of just bobbing up and down, and we'll turn that false when he's actually playing the game. But right now he's just bobbing up and down. And the second thing that we're going to do is we are going to define a variable for an angle, okay? Because we are going to use the math function, the sine function, to say what the Y position of that bird is. And sine, because the sine wave moves up and down in a nice smooth motion, I think that'll make a very good flapping looking bird. Okay. So let's do self dot, let's just call it angle, okay? And we're going to just say that's 0.0. Okay, so that's just a number. Okay, right now it's 0. Now let's do def update, because we need our update function that's part of bird. And we're going to say something like this. We're going to say if self dot waiting equals true. Okay, waiting is true, so therefore we're in the bobbing motion. We are going to say self dot rect, okay, that's the rectangle of the bird, dot top, okay, the top of the bird, is going to be, let's see here, let me think about this. We want to use that location that we initially sent our bird, okay? So we're going to, let's see here, like line 65, we're also going to say self dot location equals location. Okay, so we need to save that initial value of the location. So we'll say self location equals a location, because now we can use that location tuple to say what we want. Okay, so we're going to say self.location equals location up there in line 66. And then on line 72, we're going to say self.rect.top, the top of the rectangle of the bird, is equal to self.location sub 1. Okay, that's the Y component of the location. plus let's do math dot sine of self dot angle. Okay, so that's the angle, and then we're doing math dot sine of that angle. Now notice how our math is underlined in red. That means we haven't imported the math library into Python. So let's scroll up to the top of our code and do that real quick. See where it says import? So we're just going to type that in here. I am import math. Okay, never thought you had to import math, did you? All right, scroll back down into our bird update. Okay, so that is going to generate the, if our angle is 0, then math.sine of 0 is going to print some number, okay? But that number that it's going to print is somewhere between 0 and 1. So we need to go ahead and multiply that by 10. So it will scale that number up a little bit. That make sense? Okay. And we're also going to need to increase the value of our angle so this sine function works better. So we're going to do self.angle plus equals 0.1. And now this part's a little bit tricky, but when you're dealing with sine, if you take a number and pass it into the sine function, it'll give you another number out, right? But that angle that you're passing into that sine function happens to be in radians, okay? So in normal, like human thought, we always think of 360 degrees as all the way around a circle. Happens to be in Python that 360 degrees corresponds to 2 times pi. Okay, and we know that pi is about 3.14. So 2 pi, 2 times pi is 6.28. Okay, so every time we've gone all the way around the circle, we just want to reset that number back to 0. Okay, let's do that real quick. Let's say if self.angle greater than equal to 6.28, okay, that's 2 pi, then we want to say self.angle equals 0.0, okay. So this 6.28 is 2 times pi, okay? Okay. So let's see if that works. And sure enough, that little bird is just sitting there bobbing back and forth. And that looks pretty cool, I think. Now, if he goes into a pipe, he's just going to fly right through it because we don't have any collision detection or anything yet. That's it for Flappy 6. And let's get going on Flappy 7, where we actually get to control the flapping of the bird. All right, everybody, take care. See you on Flappy 7.